like to introduce my guest, Justin, 10 of Quad, as I know him. Aladdin. What's up, Just?
What's up, Cabot?
But now you're going by Kaleo, right? Your original name. I mean,
Yeah.
not original name, but birth.
Yeah, my birth name, my first name on my birth certificate was
Right.
Kaleo.
Right.
Yeah, and then later, I got a new first name, which was Justin. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
Kaleo 10. When I moved back to Hawaii around 2010, I wanted to just represent Kaleo.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always changing, man. I got so many names.
Yeah. What are some of those names?
Well, you know, in preparation for this, I was looking at some old Quad Max
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and I forgot I used to go by Juban originally.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Juban.
Yeah, Juban, because
Is that Japanese?
yeah, Japanese, number 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
But you're Japanese.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your ethnicity?
So my mom is Japanese Hawaiian. My dad's
Okay.
Popolo. He's
Right.
from California,
Right.
and then my mom's Hawaii.
Oh, nice. And you're born and
I
raised
got-
here, or?
No, I was born in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came here when I was like 4 years old or something like that,
Right.
and lived in Mamanalo with like
Oh,
homestead style.
Nalo, nice.
Yeah, and then moved around a bunch.
So your mom is a Hawaiian Japanese from here,
Hawaiian, Japanese.
and she met
yeah.
your dad when he's from the Bay Area.
Yeah, I guess she went to college,
Yeah.
and they hooked it up
Right.
out there or something,
So what area did you grow up in Hawaii?
Wamanalo first.
Okay.
Down the street from Mel's Market. Shout out Mel's Market.
Mel's
you guys know.
Market.
Gee. We used to go over there and play the Year of Kung Fu. Was before Street Fighter. Over there. Cha, cha.
That's like the one kick, yeah.
Yeah. Kicks and punches.
Kicks and punches.
But yeah, over there I lived on Iapuni. Yo, when I lived over there, you know who was my neighbors?
Who?
The Kunahanas.
Oh.
Yeah. Charity and Chad and Chris.
Oh, so you moved there because your mom's family was there, or?
Yeah. When we came back from San Francisco.
And then you ended up in town later.
Yeah, Kaneohe,
Right,
Kahalu,
okay.
all over Kaneohe, all over
Right.
Kahalu. That's where I meet like E.T. and
Wow.
Bumblebee and
What years were you? What grade was this, or what year was this? How old were you when you started meeting
this
those
is.
guys?
I went to Benjamin Parker Elementary, but then I also went to Wamanalo Elementary
Wow.
and then King Intermediate,
Okay.
and then later I ended up going to McKinley.
Okay.
And that's only because I was already kind of rascal, and then
Yeah.
my mom never let me go Farrington. Because we actually used to live down here. I don't know if you guys know where
Oh.
PBS is, but it's
Yeah.
in Kalihi, and I used to live down here, so I was supposed to go Farrington.
So like Puhale area, kind of, and then you guess what's Farrington is the district.
Yeah, Farrington was the
And so she
district.
didn't want you to go to Farrington.
Yeah,
So she told you to go to McKinley.
yeah.
And do you remember meeting anybody at McKinley? Any dancers,
Oh man,
MCs, writers?
McKinley had the best dancers, man. I mean, there was, Kaneohe was awesome with a lot of dancers, but McKinley had like Josiah. I don't know if you know who Josiah is.
Yeah. I know what you-
Shout out to Josiah, man. He was one of the best for the longest time. Hector and
Okay.
Eddie Rollins. I mean, there's so many great dancers
right.
coming out of
But
McKinley.
did Robert Jojo come from McKinley, or was he?
Robert Jojo was there too, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
Yeah.
I remember because I used to skate with him first.
Yeah.
So we all skated together, and that's how I knew him. And then as everybody kind of evolved, he started dancing, and I reconnected with him at the clubs. And I'm like, yo, that's Robert Jojo, one
Yo,
of
I
the
just
best
saw him.
skaters.
I just saw him.
Jojo?
Yeah, I ran into
Nice.
him in the grocery store, man. It was so classic. Like, I was like, what's up? What's up? He's like, oh, long time. I'm like, yeah. That's it. Just fast kind highs.
Right.
Bye-bye.
So did you graduate from McKinley?
I got my graduate GED from the night school.
Let's
Gee,
go.
You know how we do it, man.
So
Get that
that-
education.
So that was like the 90s, right? That's like 90s,
yeah,
94.
94.
Right. So what was the climate, or what? How did you first discover hip hop?
You
Remember
know,
your first like experience?
yeah. I mean, I saw those movies, right? Like
Right.
Breaking was like probably the main movie. But one thing that keeps standing out for me when I think about this is actually, fat laces, man. Like for some reason, I remember wearing fat laces, and that was like kind of like my ticket in somehow.
What? So
Yeah.
how did you get turned on to fat laces? Was it
I think
just
I
the
was
older
either,
heads?
like someone that was wearing it,
Right.
and then I wanted to put it on because I thought it was cool, and
Yeah.
those fat laces led to hip hop. That and then just writing.
Oh, nice.
Tagging actually.
Yeah, tagging.
We were tagging.
Did you? What was your tagging name?
Man, I can't tell you what you cop.
Yeah.
No.
I love it.
I got busted a lot, like Almoana Shopping Center.
Okay.
First time, felt like
Right.
a real tagger.
Yeah.
Toy action out there, writing my
Right.
name on back when they had payphones.
You got caught writing your name on a payphone.
Yeah. I was writing Sage at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So McKinley, so You found hip hop like was it early, like elementary
Yeah,
time?
elementary school for
Right,
sure.
right. You
Yeah.
started dance, so you started tagging first.
I started tagging, wearing fat
Right.
laces, and
Did you have any crews or roll with anybody that we would know of?
you know,
or-
so in Kanyohe, actually it's more Kahalu time. I remember hanging out with ET,
Okay.
you know, Tadoumi
Yes.
and Bumblebee,
Right.
and we were on a basketball court, and we had like this kind of like piece we made. I don't know who made it because it wasn't me because I
Right.
wasn't that good, but
Yeah.
it said Emerald City Breakers.
Oh, Emerald City.
Yeah, yeah, and
That'd be Northwest if it was Emerald, right? Or that was just the name of the
that was just the
Emerald.
name. Yeah, yeah, we just made it up.
Oh, no.
You know, and you know that was the first time I remember it. But I mean, I don't know. So I only have one memory of
And
that.
you started breaking. And
started breaking then.
was it because ET? So explain real quick, just so we get the context, who ET is.
Yo, ET, Elephant Tusk, Tado, Umi, Circle of Fire.
Yeah.
Circle of Fire, yeah. Soul Shifters. Yo, that guy is
Alien
deep, man.
Natives.
Alien Natives, yes.
Innovative style.
Yo, mad innovative style. Yo, quick, Circle of Fire, Battle of the Year. They go on stage to do a performance, and they piss everyone off and make everyone hype all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, they made people mad and people excited. They, as far as I'm concerned, Circle of Fire changed the dance.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
they merged styles and concepts of what dance is supposed to be. But you know, I mean, all those guys used to come to Hawaii in the '90s, so
Right, yeah.
they got our vibes.
So it was almost natural that Todd joined them.
Yeah, you know, he went out to Seattle. A bunch of people. I don't know who first went to Seattle. Someone in the '90s. Do you remember who it was?
I mean, there's like a big migration.
Yeah.
I think that Todd was there. Woz
Army
was
of
there.
Army of Snipers or something like that, or
No, I think I was like Woz's art crew
okay.
in there. But I think Dustin, Wembley Small Fry went
yes,
up there.
Wembley. Yo,
And
Wembley
then-
Small Fry still got one of the awesome. You know, his verse when he was talking about like oligarchy and like plutocracy and like he was talking about like
He's a teacher now.
oh he is.
Did you know
He's
that?
teaching.
Yeah, I don't know, but it makes sense that he rapped about that.
Yo,
back
he was
in the
talking.
day.
Yeah, he was talking about finances. He was talking about, you know, communism. It was great. Socialism, man. The guy
He
was
I
way
think
beyond.
he's just out of high school too when he wrote all of that.
Yeah.
And then what's his name? What's the name of that one skater they used to roll with? They used to wear all the black. And then Jason. Oh my God, Flying Coffin.
Right, Flying Coffin.
He
Oh,
moved
that
out to
guy.
Seattle.
Oof.
He
Yeah.
moved out to Seattle. I think I don't know just of it. I mean
Yeah.
the exactly who, but I know he was in Seattle. I think Wembley was in Seattle, and then I think Woles eventually went to Seattle, and I think Todd might have been the first.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but he definitely. But anyway, and then Bumblebee. Speak on Bumblebee too, since you talked
Yo,
about him.
Bumblebee is amazing too, man. That guy was like DJing everywhere. I think one of my first times meeting Bumblebee was it might have been Capital Fat, and he was on there DJing. I don't know what the true story is, but I swear he just showed up with records and started DJing. You know, like he wasn't even on the flyer. But I don't know. I
That's
might be making stuff
Jamal
up.
style.
Yeah.
Jamal style. Hey, bring records and like
Yeah.
wow, so you can spin.
Yeah.
And then he pushes you on. But did you guys remember each other from back in the day?
Oh yeah, totally. And you know, when I moved to the Bay, I re-linked up with Bumblebee.
Right.
You know, I was hanging out with him. We were still dancing, and Todd would come by sometimes. You know,
In the Bay.
in the Bay, yeah, we danced a bunch in the Bay. Yeah, you know, there's a style that comes out of Hawaii,
Right.
and it's very much Hawaii, right? So
Okay.
like people may have been doing it other places, like who knows, right?
Right.
The human body only moves so many ways, and it's natural to want to interact with your environment. And we were all doing it, you know. And although it was Todd that coined the term all terrain,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and it's just basically it's the simplest form, even though this is still not giving it justice. The simplest
Yes.
form is like if you take b-boying or breaking and just apply it to a pole
Right.
or to a bench,
Right.
you know. So it's like skate culture,
Yeah.
but we were dancing, right?
Right.
Kale was in the mix. Kale was
Oh, yeah.
dope in the
Shout out to
mix. Of it.
Kale.
Shout out to Kale, man.
Quiet chaos.
Quiet Chaos. That's another person that we need to shout out real quick. Yo, skating, emceeing,
Yeah.
drawing,
Yeah.
like everything.
Super
just
talented
Super
female.
talented. Yo, another tangent real quick. I'm walking through San Francisco one day, just like in the early 2000s. It might have been 2001,
Right.
whatever. I don't know. And then I'm just walking on Market Street. And I see some chick like skating, and she's like doing all these like grinds on this bench. I was like, oh, check her out. She's pretty mean, yeah?
Yeah.
And I get closer. I'm like, oh, shoot, I know her. I'm like, oh, that's Kea. And I walk up to her, and we haven't seen each other in years, right? You know, because I've been in the States, and I don't know how she got there.
Yeah.
And she's just on Market Street doing this grind. She sees me, she's like, hey, what's up, Dan? And doesn't stop skating. She's just talking to me, and we're just like catching up, and she's like doing, you know, backboard slides. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to out-cool her. I'm like, yeah, what's up, yo?
No, she's cool.
Acting like it's not a big deal. But yeah, the all-terrain thing, man, like, I felt like that's kind of what they were doing when Circle Fire was like doing all those things like that. But yeah, there's this video of Todd that he made where he's all-terraining down the side of a mountain, and a guy almost flies off a cliff. But he literally, like a cartoon, catches a root and like holds on. Madness, man, madness.
I mean, speaking of that, yeah, if I remember when Todd, I mean, who's to say, right? Who's to say some guy in like Brazil? But I mean, I gotta say, Todd brought the most original style, and I think it bled throughout, like Bumblebee, you, Lucky, like, you know, a lot of Austin, you know what I mean? From Eva Beach, shout out to him. You know, a lot of that was a Hawaii style. I guess you could say that was like a Hawaii style, you know?
Yeah.
Because b-boys would come to Hawaii and they didn't dance like Hawaii.
Oh no, man, they weren't doing it. Yo, when we I remember what year. This is way later, like 2007 or something, or even later. We're in the Bay. We're at this battle, and I don't know. I got there later or something, so I didn't have anyone to enter with.
Right.
And so I see Todd. I was like, "Yo, man, want to enter with me?" And then we enter as Blamo. That's like our all-terrain alter egos. Blamo. But yo, it's out of nowhere. He just like jumps in with me last minute. Yeah. Like I'm literally standing there by myself. It's a 2-on-2, right? And I'm by myself because I got there late. I'm trying to battle two people, and I see Todd. He jumps in with me. Yo, we smoke everyone with all-terrain styles. Like, it's hard to explain all-terrain, but it's not only dance and everything, but like we dance with each other, right? It's not scripted.
Right.
Like he's flipping over me. I'm like freaking like making tunnels. He's going through. Right. We're threading all over the place, and we're smoking people. People are getting pissed because like, you know, it's not the standard style, you know. And when I'm with Todd, like I completely changed my style. You know, like I've always been like, I was on a different trajectory, but when I'm with Todd, I'm like Hawaii. I'm back Kahalu. Right, you know? Hidden habitat. Let's get inside there. Get in the underground. But at one point, and here's the thing about all-terrain. Right. Nothing's planned, right? Yeah. So this guy goes to like backflip off of a table. Okay. But it's like, you know, if you stand on it, you're going to tip it. Yeah. And he doesn't tell me. He just goes to do it. I'm like, oh. So I grab the table. He flips off. And then another part. Unplanned, dude. He makes it, yo. We're doing all kinds of stuff. I think we have footage of that, too. There might be some place,
you sent me some video, and I seen that. It's in the video.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, man. This is old stuff, man. But like, and then another part, my favorite part, we get to the finals, and we're battling Ron and Rob. Okay. You know, Profo won. Profo won. Yeah, Floor Gangs, Hound Dog Truckers, right. Like legendary b-boy, man. Right. And his brother, Rob Nasty, another legendary b-boy who makes awesome music. Shout out to them. Shout out to Profo. I used to hang out with those guys, too, like in San Francisco, like doing street shows with Hound Dog Truckers, crazy times. So we're battling them. So we're in the finals. Like what the heck is going on, right? Two island boys out here trying to, like, battle in the city. And all of a sudden, we're trying to start the battle, and I'm looking around, where's E.T.? Yeah. Where's Todd? And, dude, he's behind the turntable scratching. And the DJ is like looking at me like, yo, come get your boy. I'm like, yo, I can't control that guy, you know? That's E.T., man. Thought, you know, that's Todd, you know, that's Elephant Tusk, you know, like. And then Ron and Rob are looking at me like, yo, man, let's do this battle. Come on, because they're mad, you know? Like, they don't want us to win. Yeah, they don't want to lose to you guys. Yeah, and like they're like, come on, man. They're like, come on, Dan, let's go. Because they're like foundational. Right, and like they know me, right? And so they're like, yo, come on, get your boy. I'm like, yo, like, what can I do? Honestly, I don't even know how the battle started, right? Or even how it ended. I just remember that part. I think and you guys won that battle. I don't remember. I don't even remember how that thing went. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Just once you see Todd scratching, it was a blur. Yeah, it was gone, dude. Like, and it's not like he went over there for like a second. No, he was there. Like, I'm going to DJ the battle. Oh, yeah. I'm like, dude, you cannot DJ the battle. We're in the battle. Shout out to shout out to Todd, man. Shout out to Todd. All-terrain styles. Innovator, man. There's a lot of innovation. Influencer.
of
Yes.
I mean, him going to Seattle, linking up with it was like almost like inertia. It literally compounded itself. Him going Circle of Fire. It's like boom, and then them going to Battle of the Year. Like I'm pretty sure from that moment on, it changed the trajectory of dancing. Period. Not only b-boy
100.
or breaking.
Yeah.
That like styles. You know, people are
Styles.
like, oh yeah, people bit Todd. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even biting. You know what I mean? It's like
No.
if you see something dope, you gotta take it.
I mean, it's all that, I forgot someone was on the podcast talking about how back in the day you couldn't bite, and
Yeah.
that's just how it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Like you were considered whack if you bit, but these days they copy everything,
Right. Do you feel like today is a lack of originality?
With the music, yeah,
Okay.
sadly, but I think when it comes to even my beef isn't with the lack of originality. It's my beef is with the industry.
Right.
Right. When we talk about dance as an industry,
What is the Hawaii's dance industry like anyway, from your perspective?
well, I wasn't gonna sit here and badmouth Hawaii's dance industry, but I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
But first I was referring to internationally and
Okay,
nationally.
let's do that.
Like Red Bull,
Right.
and even Silverback to some extent. I mean, and honestly, Freestyle Session, I called it Cross One like years ago. Him and Asia One,
Yeah.
Like I was in a not meeting. We were in like a conference for Red Bull Beat Riders
Right.
camp, and I was like, "Yo, you guys are making all this money off these VHS tapes
Yeah.
because that's what it was back then, DVDs and
Yeah,
after."
Right.
And you're like, dudes are like buying houses, but these b-boys are sweating, hurting themselves with no like health insurance.
Yeah.
And trying to come up, and like they're flying to your event, they're getting hotels, they're getting car rentals. They got paid $40 to enter your battle.
Right.
They make it into the semifinals, and if they lose, they get nothing.
Yeah.
But then you're making all this money off of this,
Right.
and like they were like, "Oh man, costs all this money." I mean, yeah, but you're profiting,
Right,
So
right.
I just personally, I wasn't into it. Shout out to one of my teachers, one of my mentors,
Right.
Brian Footwood Green,
Okay.
legendary dancer.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, that guy, when I first met him, was at Freestyle Session. I saw this guy popping. On the popping side of Freestyle Session, I was like, "Yo, that looks like Brian Footwood Green." But then why is he popping? Because at the time, I didn't know you could be amazing at every style, and
Right.
that guy was. But that guy, when he would make his VHS tapes, he would sell them for $40,
Okay.
and which is that's like selling a video for $100 today.
Yeah.
you know,
Totally. Yeah.
that's insane.
Yes, it
and
is
he was
insane.
breaking off people proper amounts of money.
That was in the video.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, everyone in the video got proper money,
That's dope.
but he sold it for $100. Like basically, would be like $100 today.
Right.
So I mean, look. So my beef is with the industry and
Right.
how the industry is shaped. I know I'm getting a little agitated, but how the industry shaped the dance these days. You know,
Yeah.
it's like everyone is just practicing to win the next battle.
Right.
And everyone's after not doing that, they're practicing to make the next 10 seconds on the Instagram, on the TikTok.
yeah.
And back in the day. But we would dance, we'd hang out,
Yeah.
like the jam was there. Or at least when you came to a jam, you were doing something other than just trying to win. Like
Right.
you might be in a black book, you
Right.
might be,
More communal.
it was a community thing.
Right. Did you get to check out Inertia we did last year?
Yeah, that was the
that's-
most realest hip hop event.
And that's
I've
why
been
I
to.
did it, because then it's like I wanted people that was there with us to experience that again. And I didn't make no money. I have negative for that, but like the new school or the people that missed out our era of the golden, I feel they got to experience what a real hip hop jam was.
Yes.
Like it has all the elements. Had young, old parents, b-boys, b-girls, dancers, just free, just a jam, and we did it, which is dope.
Yeah.
And I think if you weren't there, then sorry, but I mean I don't know if it ever happened again.
Look, man, that was the realest hip hop event I've been to, and I made the joke that it was so hip hop that there was no hip hop music in the b-boy battles.
Yeah.
Because we got down to rock music, we
Yeah.
got down to like funk music,
Right.
we got breaks. That's not hip hop music.
Yeah.
When we were breaking, or because I wasn't there in the 70s, but
Right.
there was no hip hop music, you know, like that rap sound really started coming out more in the 80s.
Right.
And so if you want to be real old school, then there you go.
And that's what I've learned from interviewing. When I interviewed people like James Cole and Taco, just the older heads, right? Like even the Black Hawaiian, Lionel. When I interviewed them, I had to, and then Kalani Young, when I interviewed him, shout out to Kalani, all the way in Texas. When I interviewed him, it was like I had to re-change the way I gave them the questions, because I was saying hip hop when there was no hip hop.
Right.
It was like, when did you start popping? When did you start locking? When did you start dancing? So this is pre-hip hop, so which is dope, because I think a lot of people get it mixed up that it's just hip hop, straight, like all of a sudden, Immaculate Conception, it's hip hop, but it's like, no, it's like I had to be like, Kalani didn't know what hip hop was. None of these guys knew. Hip hop is a term coined once they brought the elements together in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. Yeah. So I mean, I learned a lot from that, which is like, yeah, it's hip hop is, which I'm learning, hip hop is what you make of it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? Because you say you can dance to rock music. That's hip hop.
That is. It is, you know? I mean, people were doing those things. That's what we were getting down to. That's what was playing in the clubs, right?
Yeah.
People were having fun. I mean, I just, would love to see that come back, where people, were coming to the events to be community, not just, oh, I lost, I'm going home.
Right.
I'm so over that kind of stuff. And then, people go to these jams trying to win these battles, and they don't want to talk to them. They're like, I'm in my game phase. I'm in my villain mode. I'm like, cool, but like, at least after that, could you break that and be friends with us? Can you like hang out? I mean, I remember like, those kind of things. And I just wish that, because for me, that's the dance, right? Like feeling the music. Like I get like, I mean, that's why when you came in here, you asked me what I've been doing. I'm like, yo, surviving capitalism, man, because it's capitalism is all over everything, it's changed what this dance is, and I was against, I wasn't against the Olympics originally.
Right.
Because like even for me as a kid growing up, I would have wished to see breaking Olympics. Like in the 80s, breaking Olympics, we were all like pretty much hype on that, right? But by the time it came time to see it breaking in the Olympics, I was over it already.
Right.
I didn't want to see it there. The capitalism that's around it. The way that things have changed, and we ain't gotta talk about the obvious stuff, but like, even like how that person got there was also because of the money.
Right.
Like because there wasn't any funding for their country to send someone to the Olympics. So if you were gonna win, you still would have to get your own funding. You have to get your own flights, hotels, everything. Maybe they didn't have a passport, someone needs to help you with that. And even to get to the preliminaries to enter, to qualify, like that's money, right?
Out of your own pocket, out of the dancer's pocket.
So the people who are really awesome, because there's a lot of awesome dancers in that country,
can afford that.
Like, could they afford it, right? So of course, someone with like a PhD and like connections and wealth, had options to do that kind of stuff. So, but that whole money thing is a weird place to set it, but I mean that's kind of where we are in 2024.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's good that things like Red Bull and Silverback and Sessions is huge now. It's good, but at the other end of it, you're like, ooh, like where's the soul at? That's what I feel.
Yes, that's the soul that's missing.
I feel, even though I'm not a dancer, right? Like I grew up trying to b-boy, pop. We all did, all elements. Like any hip hop head starts. What I've noticed, because I still keep up watching all the videos, especially because Hawaii. I try to watch every battle. It's just in me, right? It's kind of like skateboarding and graffiti. You're always, once you're into graffiti, you're always looking for spots. Even if you're not tagging,
right.
You're on the bus, you're walking like, ooh, that'd be a nice spot, right? But anyway, I noticed what's missing is a soul. People don't dance with soul. Like you got all these moves being done, but I don't feel you, bro.
Because it's a set. Yeah, you're just making like these freestyles that they throw down to win. They're like, I need 5 oohs to beat that guy's 4 oohs. Like, okay, you got the O's, you won. Like that's how I am. I mean, I still do my part. Like I'm the OG now for around here, so I still judge and I still respect it. And I'm happy for people like, Hijack who can make some money from dancing, Like we didn't have those opportunities when I was younger.
But he's one that I thought should have been in the Olympics. But like it came down to it, finances, timing, like. And that's what's crazy is like China and other like Russia, I think they fund their dancers. They're like literally that's
Oh,
their
yeah.
job.
Yo, shout out
Everything.
to big girl Sarah, who flies over here all the time from Paris, from France.
Wow.
You know, like France is always paying for her education and for her development of dance as an art.
Yeah.
You know, as a fine art for
Right.
France.
It is a fine
know?
art. It's a
It's
fi-
all the big jams. None of them were in the United States. Thanks.
right. That's true.
Freestyle Session, the biggest one in the world, one of the biggest in the world. That's in the States. That's
Yeah.
about it. That's all I'm gonna give it to. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of some of those other companies, but I'm gonna not say their names
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they've given me money before, and they might give me money in the future. So what's up, guys?
So anyway, let's go from where you made that the natural transition of styles. Because if you grew up in b-boying, breaking, right? So six step, floor work, floor rocks. I mean all that stuff, right? Brooklyn's, and then when you start getting into more of the house style, what is house dancing? That's the question I wanna
Cool.
really
I
pose.
like this question. Let's roll it back slightly.
Yeah.
Because like Howard Tusif touched on it a little bit.
Okay.
He called it freestyle.
Right.
And for me, the terms I like to use, like it went from breaking
Right.
into like actually the party dances.
Okay.
You know, I call them party dances.
And what are those party dances?
Yeah, so we're talking about Roger Rabbit, we're talking about Reebok, you know, Bart Simpson, you know, Cabbage Patch,
Right.
and all these things that people do together. If you watch the movie House Party,
Right.
you'll see Kid and Play.
Okay.
By the way, that routine supposedly came from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what was this Too Swift said? No, was it Too Swift that said that? No, someone in the podcast said
Yeah,
that.
someone in the
Yeah,
podcast
I
said-
repeat it, yeah.
But I believe it because you know who I learned from? One of the people I learned from was Jason Ulep and who was this person's name? Ronald?
Yeah, Nukan.
Yeah.
Nukan and I forget
Like
his
they were
partner's name,
dope, man. So that whole style of like I call it party dances or social
Right.
dances, you know? Which kind of
So
blends into
what year? So freestyle was like 80. Freestyle dancing was like 80. Was 86? I don't know, 88.
yeah, late 80s.
And
That's
some of the what are some music artists that freestyle like Trinier, like Dino,
yeah.
stuff like that. Like I mean,
Well, this freestyle music,
yeah, music, and then that kind of lended to the dance too,
but the
right?
dance is actually slightly different.
different,
Right?
okay.
Yeah. So, like, the freestyle music actually for me was still in a popping vein of
Right.
things like that. But they were doing some of those Running Mans and some of those kind of moves.
Okay, yeah.
But it really turns into, like more into like a New Jack Swing kind of thing.
Right,
you know,
right,
like
right.
that. I mean, because if you look at, what was it? Oh my God. Belle de Devo.
Yeah.
What crew were they from before that?
New Edition.
New Edition, yes.
Right.
So if you look at New Edition,
Okay.
they're doing some of the moves.
Right.
The moves are in there. Belle DeVoe is like solid.
Right.
They're the ones that we're dancing to, like Poison, classic.
Yeah.
Let's do some
That's-
freaking Chicago
It's like
step.
New Jack Swing.
yeah,
Yeah.
boom, boom. We're coming in on it. So they're still rapping on it, but
So okay, that
it's
style,
more-
that style of dance, that's after freestyle, after the party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't call it freestyle.
Okay.
So like, because if you say freestyle, for me, that comes later.
Oh, that comes later.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
as a terminology, like that's the way I would use it.
Yeah, let's keep it clear.
You know, like that's just me. Like everyone can use
Right.
their own names. And talking about your own names, tangent for you. Hawaii never used the word six step, and originally we
Oh.
called it Skittles.
That's right. Because I learned it as Skittles.
Yeah,
And I didn't know what six step was. Because then, no, you're right. You're
yeah.
right.
I'm in the Bay. I'm in LA in 2000 talking about Skittles, and people looking like what? And I'm talking about shoulder rolls. They're like what? Because they say windmills, not shoulder rolls. We were saying shoulder rolls, and we were saying Skittles in Hawaii.
Yeah, because Skittles six step, shoulder rolls is windmills to them. But I always thought windmills were flares. Is that a
No.
Hawaii thing?
It's all Hawaii stuff, and we were saying like egg rolls too sometimes.
Yeah, egg rolls. Yeah, I
We
remember
were making
egg
up our
rolls.
own names, man. Hawaii, we're on
We're
all
next-
terrain, everything.
next
We're on our
level.
own stuff, man.
Okay,
all the time.
so I always thought Skittles and six steps were two different things.
No, Skittles
Skittles
is six step. Well, because
So where did you?
But six steps itself is like a codification of something that was not a set system, you know.
Okay.
That's only comes out when people start teaching breaking.
Okay.
You know, like pretty much everything, all these dances never had a name
Right.
until people start making a class for
So the
them.
1 and 2 and 6.
Yeah. So like let's make something basic so we can like
Teach it.
teach it as a fundamental.
Right.
And they said, okay, here's 6
Because you can't
steps.
teach a skittle,
Yeah.
right? Nobody taught me a skittle.
Yo,
I just
you look at
did it.
You just exactly, but that's how they were. The b-boys of like the late 60s
Right.
and the early 70s, it was sporadic.
Right.
Honestly, it wasn't even on beat.
Yeah.
They were just throwing moves around.
Bugging
You know, my homie, you know, Ken Swift. Nah, I'm just joking, but no, for real, my friend Kenny.
I wish he was my homie.
No.
Ken
He always
Swift.
calls me. He all his nicknames he started giving me, because I met him a bunch of times. But
Right.
you look at his video, his film that he got, that he hasn't really released yet, but he'll show it to you, and he'll walk you through how it was just blasting moves.
Wow.
You know, like it was all. It's not the breaking of today.
Right.
Right. Today is way more sophisticated. But yeah, so
So throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
yeah, and they were just throwing out moves and busting it. They were just breaking themselves.
Right.
They were break
Right.
boys. But so the terminology is different, you know, all
Okay.
over. But for me, freestyle comes later. So
Right.
it goes from breaking into like these social dances, right?
Right.
They were doing
Okay.
like MC Hammer had his set of moves,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and that's how people were putting it down. And then after that, you get into like freestyle hip hop.
Right.
You know, because we didn't want to do that anymore, right?
Right.
Like this is like 90s, mid 90s. We're like,
Okay.
no, we're not doing Running Man. We're not gonna be doing all these like exact moves. But the funny thing, we still did Running Man. But anyway,
More like a setup. It's like a setup, I guess.
we set it up. But you know, you get people like Austin, like we gave shout out to
Yeah.
Austin again, and Francis,
Yeah,
and
Francis.
Chad,
Yeah.
and yes, Rob Jojo,
Bond.
Bond.
Rest in
Woo,
peace, Bond.
Yo, battle
Livicated
Bond
to
so many
Bond.
times.
Yeah.
So many
Livicated
battles
to
of Bond.
Bond.
Yeah. Livicated. Yo, when did you start saying that, by the way?
Livicated?
Yeah.
Right when EP died. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a context. My rhyming partner, EP Kapuni Perry, passed away. And right when he passed away, I started saying Livicated. So I mean, I never heard it before that because I didn't want to say dedicated because he was not dead to me. He passed away, but I was like, how can we keep his life living? So I said, let's just cut the dead and put the live. Livicated. But then I started seeing it pop up in like Rastafari and
Yes, that's where
Thing.
I thought you got it from.
no, I didn't even know that even existed. Even though I was, Hawaii, we're deep into reggae, right? And I got a gang of reggae records, always listen to
Right.
reggae. I've never heard it on the reggae verbiage. I just did it because I didn't want to say dedicated because people that you love should never be dead. They should be alive. So I said Livicated. I made my album Livicated to EP. And then next thing you know, I just kept saying it. And I always thought like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know, I've heard it. And then all of a sudden I heard reggae guys say it. I'm like, oh dang, dude, I didn't make it up. I mean, it's too easy for me to make it up. I'm sure someone could have thought it. But it made sense that the Rastas and Rastafarianism kind of makes sense. That feels like a term that the Rastas would use.
Right.
So I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, that was when he passed away. That was 2000, I don't even remember. 6 maybe, I think it is.
No, I like it. I first saw it, I think on that post or something.
Yeah, it's always livicated, because I mean, they're never dead, If they're loved, then they're never dead. But so keep going down that.
Oh no, but before I forget, how did you get Cavit the Catalyst?
Oh, okay. Cavit the Catalyst. So when I started rhyming, I didn't know what name to use. So you'd always think of like, any kind of MC name, right? So I thought of like, in Hawaiian, there's K-less possessive. There's that Hawaiian teaching, right? Of how to, of Hawaiian language. So I was like, oh, that'd be a dope name. So like, I call myself K-less possessive. Like, it's because it was dope and it was Hawaiian. But I was like, that's kind of corny, dude. So I just stuck with Cavit the whole time. And then I was like, but then in hip hop, it's always like, J. Rue, the Damager, right? You know what I mean? Malachi, the Nutcracker, right? So, the Soul Brother, so it's like the something. So I was like, I'll stick with Cavit because it's weird already.
Well, what year is this?
Oh, this might have been, so 97 was my radio show, 94. I think 94, right? Coming out of high school, 94. Because you need an MC name. And I was going to KTUH a lot. So, of course, you needed to be somebody. You need to have a name, right?
Yeah.
So I think 94 is when 94 when I coined the Catalyst. Because because then I started shaping surfboards.
What?
Yeah.
How'd you end up shaping
Because
surfboards?
I mean, I surfed and bodyboard a lot. I grew up
Okay.
in Waikiki Walls, but a lot of my friends went to school with Kamea. Yeah, we all bodyboarded together, Sandy's, Makapu, um, and then we started surfing. So my friend Kilaula, shout out Kilaula,
Yo,
we started getting used boards, and then he started fixing them, right? And then when he started fixing them, he's like, "Hey, what if I started shaping my own board?" Because he was way more of a waterman than me. Like, I could hang, but he could rip bodyboarding. Every local, any local guy, bodyboarding, like everything, hand, like pipe board, everything.
Oh.
So he started shaping his own
Yeah,
boards.
yeah.
So he bought all the fiberglass, the foam, and then when you had to glass your board, you had to use this compound or this chemical called the catalyst
Oh.
to solidify the liquid to make to harden the fiberglass, right? So then he started shaping. So I said, you know what, like, hey, I want to shape a board. So he taught me how to shape. So I wanted to shape my only longboard I have. So he taught me, and I was learning. And he's like, "Oh, you got to get the catalyst. You got to put it in. You got to mix it." I was like, "Oh, catalyst! Like, what does that do?" He's like, "Oh, it hardens it. It starts everything up. The chemical reaction starts because of the
Yeah.
catalyst." I was like, "Dude, that's dope. That's dope." I was like, "Cavit the catalyst. I like that." And that was before I did events, before I did my radio show. But it manifested itself to, like, I've always been the guy that started something or created something that caused a chemical reaction for the greater good. So the greater good for the surfboard would be to spread out the epoxy, the resin on the board to make that 10-foot long board. For me, it was like the catalyst of hip hop because I had my radio show, and that caused to help people get on freestyle.
Oh yeah, man.
People to hear their music, people to come and rap,
Yeah.
promote. Like, 5 years in the making, and it went worldwide before the internet. So,
No, that's it. I love it. You are that for hip hop for sure. So where does the Light Sleepers come from?
Light Sleepers came from when I first got my radio show in 96. They gave me a 3 to 6 a.m. slot because I was like the junior boy, the new guy, right? Like, oh, you got to get the slot nobody wants.
Right.
So this was the summer before I transferred to UH from Leeward. Shout out to Leeward Community College,
Yo,
LLC.
LLC.
Hey, everybody, don't front on that kind of college. Don't front on community college. But so when I was going there, they're like, here's your radio show, 3 to 6. Well, actually, real quick, rewind, since we're talking about it, and I don't think I'm ever going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, hey, who's going to interview you? I was like, I have no idea, but let's just do this now for prosperity. My homie Cedric, shout out to Cedric Duarte. Lord said he was the GM at KTUH. Went to school with him. He calls me up, heard I was coming to UH. Itaro, Size 1 Min, Big D had their radio shows on KTUH. They're all graduating. So the only guy left was the Prude. I don't remember the Prude and Joe 9. So they had no hip-hop shows, like hip-hop.
Right.
He heard I was coming to UH. He calls me up. He's like, Kevin, I want you to do radio. I was like, I don't want to do radio. I was like, I ain't trying to do radio.
You didn't want to do it.
Who wants to do radio? Because radio,
Right.
Because I was thinking mainstream radio, not college radio.
Word.
So he's like, no. That's not what we're doing. Like, you can play anything you want. I was like, what? I was like, so if I make a beat or me and my boys record a song in my house on my 4-track, I can come into the studio and play it? He's like, yes. Sold.
Right.
I was like, so 97, 3 to 6 a.m. They're like, oh, you got to name your show. I was like, dude, I have class at 7, 3 to 6 a.m. Like, what am I going to name my show? And at that time, Saphir, the Saucy Nomad from Oakland, from the Bay Area, and his crew, Saphir, the Saucy Nomad, and Hobo Junction had a song called The Light Sleeper.
Oh, there
So
we go.
that's how I got it. That song came out. When I heard that song, if you know that song, go look it up. That song is mind-bending. His rhyme pattern, his beats, and he was like this gangster dude. Like, he looked like he was Cousin Harold in Menace to Society. If you guys watch Menace to Society, Cousin Harold, the guy with the gun and the nose ring, bald head, that's Saphir. He made a song.
that is him. I thought you made it look like him.
No, that's him. So for reference, that's Saphir, the guy who played Cousin Harold that got shot on for the drive-by or the carjacking. He made a song called Light Sleeper. The reason why I called it that is because it was 3 to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Second, it was weird. Like, his rhyme pattern was weird, the beat was weird, but it was dope. So it is like a duality of it all. And that kind of encompassed the whole Hawaii hip hop, I felt.
Right.
Slept on, but you should never go to deep sleep. You should always just be a light sleeper.
Yeah.
So then the show moved from 9 to 12, and that's the rest is history.
Yeah.
Thursday nights 9 to
I
12.
always thought it was, because sleep is the cousin of death.
Oh.
So you didn't want to sleep.
No,
you know?
that came later when Nas said that. Well,
Yeah.
Nas said that before. Nas said that, but I didn't think about that. But when that would come up, people would be like, "Yo, is that how you got it?" I'm like, "Nah, like it's deeper than that, man. This is like Saphir, the Saucy Nomad. Shout out his album Boxcar Sessions, The Light Sleeper, which is crazy." And I'll just keep going, even though it's your interview.
No, go.
It's crazy because when I opened my shop, when I had a light sleeper shop, his son moved to Hawaii and walked in my shop.
What? He didn't know.
He didn't know that.
Oh.
I don't know if he knew, but he walked in, and I seen him, and he's like, "Yo," he's just talking story, like, "Where you from?" He's like, "I'm from the Bay," and he kind of had the look, but I didn't think anything of it. He's like, "Yeah, my dad's a rapper," and I was like, "What's your dad?" He's like, "Oh, you ever heard of him, Saphir?" And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Dude, this store's named after him.
Yeah.
Like, tell your dad thank you."
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I can't give him nothing. I don't have money because I'm, I'm independent, independent business owner in Hawaii. And the crazy part of that is even more tangent or relative is Dream, TDK,
Oh,
right?
Vacated.
He did Saphir's album cover, and Dream's son moved to Hawaii at the same time. Wow. And I met him through his uncle. Shout out to Dream's uncle that lived here. He moved here. Dream's son started playing football for UH.
No way.
So at the same time I met Saphir's son, I met Dream's son.
We gotta do what you do and go talk about Dream.
Yeah.
For the viewers that don't know who Dream is.
Oh, to me, like, see, I'm an MC, DJ, producer, but Dream is a legendary Bay Area, world famous graffiti artist out of the Bay Area. I think he's from Oakland.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
TDK and Styles on Styles. Like, there's interviews on him. That dude, Filipino brother, Filipino black. He was next level. And his next level thinking. Ridiculous.
Beyond
Did you meet him?
No, he was gone before I got to meet him,
Yeah. So let's talk about your time. Oh, let's finish this.
No, wait.
Wait. Okay, you go.
No, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yo, but even your shop though that's crazy in itself, I mean, because now that's where Aloha Got So is, right?
No, Aloha Got So's down the way, two shops down.
Okay.
The young homie, what is his name? Oh my God, he has a clothing brand. He moved in. Yeah, I forget the name.
Oh right.
Shout out to that homie Drew. I forget his name.
Right.
Sweet Enemy.
Sweet Enemy, yes.
Young cat, creative. I give all my blessings to the next generation. I don't gatekeep anything. To me, I'm like, dude, if you're creative, go get it.
No, I was so happy because I wasn't here when you made your shop.
Oh, you weren't here? You were on the Big Island?
Yeah, I was on Big Island. But I remember coming back and seeing it and loved the idea of walking in and, because it was so hip hop.
Yeah. I mean, what else? And the thing is, just crazy is I would get people from New York, California, Bay Area, Seattle. I had a Kendrick Lamar's video producer walk in there, chop it up with him for an hour. Right. Now he's famous.
Yeah.
Like Jake One from Seattle produced, everybody, Jay-Z, he come in, chop it up. Talib Kweli came in, chop it up. But beyond that, I had people that's from New York, other places that hip hop is more hip. I mean, what I'm saying, more hip hop than Hawaii.
Yeah.
Come in and be like, yo, this is like, Dave would be like, this is what's up.
Yeah.
This makes me feel like I'm in New York. This makes me feel like I'm in California, because it's like, it was hip hop. It was hip hop, but that's what it was. Records, clothing, music, DJ, beats, art, like. But I took that all from the people before us. Jamal,
of course,
Hisham, Funk Pistol.
Yeah,
right?
Funk Pistol.
All those things.
Wasn't there another
Sarah's,
one? FTC.
FTC, FTC, but that's Bay Area skateboarding.
No, but there was. Oh no, okay, it was Funk Pistol.
Yeah,
they was carrying FTC stuff. That's what it was. Yeah.
So Light Sleepers is a culmination of everybody before me,
right?
And then Light Sleepers has always been. We always remember what we learned of in the past to bring it to the future.
That's what I always love that about everything you do, man. You're always community,
Oh, that's the reason why I'm here. Light Sleepers wouldn't be around. You wouldn't be doing this interview if it was a community. If I was
shout out to Light Sleepers for having me here.
If I was Dolo or solo or do for self, Nobody want to mess with me. Nobody want to mess with somebody that's just self-centered, right?
Nah, man. You
But
gotta
anyway,
always make it bigger than you.
You need to. Figure
Okay,
out
okay. Back to the terminology.
Yeah, because I want to know how.
Rewind.
I want to know what a house dance.
Okay,
thing,
okay.
because-
So we went from the party dances, and then
Yes.
we started. Then we just like trying to break the mold, right? We
Yeah.
didn't want to. We didn't want to
Yeah,
do those
yeah.
moves anymore. So we're changing up the whole vibe. Yo, and one thing I want to say too, though, like what really got me into freestyling was actually the music changed, right?
What was the change in the music?
Yo, I don't remember what year it was exactly, but it must have been like 93 or something, maybe 94. And I'm doing summer school at, I think it's Mauna Lua, and I meet Ruben, Just One O's brother.
Yeah. Oh.
And
shout out to
he
Ruben,
has a
Just One
cassette
O.
tape. He has a cassette tape,
Right.
and he's playing this crazy rap music that I've never heard before, and it was 36 Chambers.
Oh, crazy.
And the first time I heard it, he would play it for you,
93,
and you
yeah.
would get hype, and he would stop it and laugh. Ah! And then I'd go, play again,
That's
play it
something-
again.
that's
He'll play
something
it
Just
again.
One O would do.
He'll play it and be like, oh, because, you know, he was going back and forth, right?
Right.
To the States and come back to Hawaii. And so he would always he was like the way that we got stuff, because this is before the internet.
Right.
Well, before the internet.
Yeah.
You know, like the internet became a thing in 2000 something. But anyway, so that's when I first heard that music, and it got me so hyped, man. I heard Method Man on there, and I was like, yo. And it made me move different. I think it made us all move different.
Yes.
You know, and that's a throwback to why some of these jams need to play the right music, you know?
Right,
Come
yeah.
on, man, because
Yeah.
it's the music that moves you. And
And that's why when I DJ, that's what I play.
Yo.
I mix it up with the breaks, but I like bringing in the 90s, and I don't find the obscure Ninja Tune, Jazz Fudge
Yes.
stuff and bringing it in. But that's like always. I mean, I could say me, Oliver, Bumblebee, you know, shout out to DBs, to DJ, guys like that. That's what
Right.
we've always. That's what I feel like we've always curated. Is like we know how to like. It's all the same vibe, but you know what I mean. We'll find the breaks that fit in with 93 to
Oh, yeah.
Infinity. You know, but So anyway, the music changed, so the dance changed.
so the dance changed, and we started moving different. You know, we were like, you know, moving with the vibe of that time, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, you know, we try to separate these ideas of breaking, you know, freestyle or, you know, even house for that matter. But it's all just another manifestation of the same thing in a different time,
Right.
you know? And I'll get to the house part, but I'm going to tell you something real quick. But it's like, before all these styles were even named, they were doing this dance on the East Coast. The Puerto Ricans mostly were doing this dance called Del Webble.
Oh, wow, okay.
You know, like your Webbles, you know?
Right.
Your Olos. And it was like a taunting dance.
Okay.
And they would taunt each other, but mostly to women, guys taunting women and women
Right.
taunting guys.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's almost like, like a rock dance battle, like
Right.
like an up rock battle. But it was like trying to make out with each other, right? And that leads into rock dance
Okay.
or, up rocking, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, most
okay.
people just think of like boom, boom, squat,
Right.
boom, boom, ha, when they're doing all these
Yeah.
burns. And that dance is about the dance, about the music, and like how much you're feeling the music and everything.
Yeah.
But all the burns are in there. That's where a lot of the burns you see in breaking.
What are burns? Real quick?
So burns are like when you're doing a gesture
Right.
to
There you go. Yeah.
offend someone or,
Right.
or kind of like diss them or kind of like put them down or something. Yeah, it's offensive.
Right.
What people gotta understand is like this dance comes out of like, poverty and like suffering of the time.
Right.
From New York mostly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
like people were expressing that, and they
Right.
expressed it. It was a violent place at the time, so the dance was kind of violent looking, and it was confrontational, and they were making something of it, and they were trying to show who they were. They didn't have anything as far as material, but they had who they were,
Right.
and they were showing you every time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you got to remember about hip hop. It's always gonna be something where show and prove.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's why the Olympics was so messed up.
Right.
Because you're supposed to show and prove.
Right.
And if you cannot do that, you shouldn't be on the stage.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to call you out. That's not bullying. That's
Yeah.
not a bully tactic. No, that's not like
No,
cyberbullying.
no.
That's like you got to show and prove. And if
Yeah.
not, we're going to tell you you're whack.
Yeah.
You got to understand that. So anyway, this dance, Del Webble, back to that,
Right.
leads into rock dance, into rocking.
Okay.
Shout out to all the rockers out there. I don't want to start naming names because if I miss one, they're going to
Yeah.
get mad at me.
Who'd be the most notable?
No, I'm not even gonna
You
do
gotta
that.
name one so at least people can be like, oh, I'm gonna look that up.
I mean,
This is more educational.
no, I'm gonna do something a little different. This is
Okay.
gonna be a little different. I'm gonna say, check out Rob Nasty.
Okay.
You know, Rob Nasty has done a lot of work and research on all those guys, all those old school guys, and I'll tell you right now, because those guys, whew, they'll just confrontational. So
Right,
I don't
right.
want to get into it, but
Yeah.
I'll shout out Rob Nasty. He's done a lot of work. Find him on the internet. He will take you down the line of who's awesome and who's dope.
Right.
But yeah, so they qualified their dance right through rock music, through
Yeah.
breaks, and that there's a splinter that happens there
Okay.
that creates actually what house dance really is, you know. So you get not only do you get breaking, but you get house dance out of rocking, and people. Okay, so how do you get that?
Okay. Yeah.
It's because there's a style that people like to call lofting.
Lofting.
But the
okay.
thing is like lofting isn't a style. Like the same way that like house music is called house because it was played in a warehouse. So there's this guy, David Mancuso, you know, in New York City, in the early 70s, you know, and he's wanted to throw parties in his loft.
Yeah.
And the people that danced there had a style.
Lofting.
And then people would go to that party. It was a very private party
Right,
that you had to get invited because they wanted to vibe. But then because they dance together all the time, like we're talking like street dancers, we're talking like, you know, people who are into like rocking and all these other styles and ballet and jazz and tap.
Right. Yeah.
And they started to create a style together because they dance with each other all the
What year was
time.
this?
This is like early 70s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is early 70s, maybe even late 60s.
What?
And those people would go to other clubs.
Okay. Yeah.
And they would dance, and they were amazing.
Right. People are like, what is
And
that?
they're like, yo, who's that? What's that? They're like, oh, that's one of those loft dancers.
oh, okay.
You see?
Yeah.
They weren't trying to say it's a style. They
Yeah.
were saying they're from that place.
Yeah. That place.
And so then you get this later thing, idea of lofting.
Right.
And then that kind of bridges into, you know, other clubs and other parties like the
Right.
Gallery or, you know, Paradise Garage, you know, and that house music starts to come in because they're actually dancing to like pre-house music, post-disco music, right?
Right.
So it's, you know, it's in between because like a lot of that music has, nowadays you will call it garage music,
Okay.
right? And when you listen to it, it sounds kind of disco, but there's a lot of breaks in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you could take that, if you take the break and you play it at Bebo Jam,
yeah.
everyone's gonna get down.
It's a people.
so you get this they'll rubble into like this, you know, rocking into
Right.
this lofting,
Right.
and then that lofting gets into the house music and becomes really what house music is.
Okay.
Really what house dance is.
Right.
But the house dance that we know today, most of that is actually really just one style from New York.
Oh, okay.
And the way that happens is because the hip hop dancers in New York were getting gigs, they became the backup dancers for
Right.
people like Will Smith, Mariah Carey,
Okay. Yeah.
CeCe Peniston.
So this is before like Grand Puba's dancers and
Yeah, this
like
is
all
way
those-
before
way
that.
before
They were. Well, no, some of it. Grand Puba's kind of a similar time, but
yeah.
But these guys were like, yeah, they were out there just in the '90s mostly,
Okay.
getting a lot of clout. But let me backtrack a little bit. So let me backtrack.
I'm new to this.
I went.
That's why I wanted you to be on a podcast.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I'm like, I want to hit housing somehow, and the only person I know would be
No,
Ken.
there's a lot of connections to it,
Right.
right? And I'm going to go to that, but I want to finish something real quick, and it's the fact that we were freestyling. So we went from the party dances into freestyle, and for me, that's freestyle.
Right.
When I think of freestyle, we called it freestyle, we called it hip hop, abstract,
Right. Yeah.
but we also called it housing.
Right.
And you were called a houser.
Right.
That's why you get from Oakland. Oh my God, it might be from Richmond too. Sorry, but Housing Authority, straight up.
Yeah.
Shout out to Housing Authority, one of the most infamous hip hop
right.
crews around.
Right.
And their battle between Style Elements and Housing Authority is
Right.
legendary. You can find it on the YouTubes. Go watch it if you want to see what hip hop is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so hip hop, man, it's all of this. It just keeps changing. You know, it goes into this hip hop abstract, this freestyle to housing. You know, and the vibe it still goes into house. And the reason why it's still into house is because when people teach house today, majority of the steps you see, especially in these battles like
Right.
Summer Dance Forever,
Yeah.
it's because of a group from New York. Shout out to Mop Tops,
Right. Right.
you know, Elite Force, who were in a documentary that was aired on a public access, not public access, on
Right.
a station like PBS
Right,
in New
right,
York.
right.
It was called a live TV. It was a black and white documentary where we all tripped out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, the first time I saw that, do you remember how you saw it? Because I can tell you,
I remember.
think about that real quick. The way I saw it was, I had already been dancing a lot, right?
Right.
Like so I'm like probably 18. I'm trying to go into clubs,
Right.
trying to sneak in, but I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
really get in. But I become friends with DJ Felix.
Okay.
You
Nice.
know?
Shout out to Felix.
Shout out to FLX. And one day he's like, yo, 10, you need to come to down to Lures to Maria Cantina. I got this film you need to see. Because he already had it. I don't know how he got
Oh,
it, but he
wow.
had a copy
Yeah.
of Wrecking Shop from Brooklyn,
What?
which features, you know, all these famous dancers that are
Yeah,
in there
yeah,
now. Like Ijo, you know, Khalif, Buddha Stretch, and again, name everybody. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I saw I go down, but they wouldn't let me in because I'm not 21.
Right, right.
So I'm like 18. I might have even been 17 at the time. So I'm outside the window like
Right,
this,
right, yeah,
trying to
yeah.
like watch. And he's like playing for him. He's like 10 watch. I'm looking like tripping out like yo, watching these guys dance.
That's how you
So,
saw it.
yeah. So that's how. Do you remember how you saw that?
I was on PBS, I think,
Yeah. It's cool.
but I caught it
Yeah, but
by
lucky-
chance. I was like, "What the heck is this?" But by that time, I was already rhyming, making beats. But it still was. It intrigued me to be like, "Whoa, what is this?" Like I've never seen it before. So you think that was kind of like the flash dance slash breaking slash beat street moment for
for hip hop freestyle.
freestyle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
freestyle.
house dancing in that,
Right.
but it's not featured as much as the hip hop that's in that
Right.
in that documentary. Yeah, for sure, man. That inspired the generation.
Right. Because there
You
was
know.
no internet, so that literally
No.
VHS
Yo,
passed
I
around.
got mad VHS tapes, man. I got a stack of VHS tapes. Yo, VHS tapes of videos was like trading cards, baseball cards.
Yeah, it definitely
You know
was.
what you got? I got. Yo, who was that one? Like there was that one MC. I forgot what her name was, but she used to
Nayla?
come. Was
Not
it Nayla?
Nayla,
She used to have cassette tapes that she would sell. She
Nayla,
would-
Nayla.
Yeah, Nayla.
Shout out to Nayla, yeah.
Yo, shout out to Nayla because I remember she would come by with the new
Yeah.
and load us up in Hawaii.
She would always go back and forth from LA to Hawaii. But she ended up working with like a bunch of people in LA. LA Underground. She's definitely LA Underground hip hop and Hawaii hip hop.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how it was. I remember. So I was already collecting. I was already filming a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I got
you filmed a lot.
I got so much videos and stuff. But so I was going to Japan. Oh man, call back to Harold. So Harold was leaving Japan.
Harold Too Swift.
Shout out to Harold Too Swift. So I didn't really know him personally, but I knew
right.
of him. And so when he was leaving Japan, I was going to Japan.
Oh, okay. What are you going to
You
Japan
know,
for?
so that's where all the dancing was.
Wow.
You know, and like everybody that was dope in New York and around the world was going to Japan. You just made money out
How
there.
did you end up getting linked up with Japan?
I pay my own way actually.
Right.
I just I worked at Kmart, saved
Yeah,
some
yeah.
money, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went. But I had people out there already.
Right,
Like
okay,
I had
cool.
all my friends that were out there.
So this is like when you're like 18. Then.
Yeah, I'm 18 and I go to Japan and I just go out there
How
running
was it?
around. It was crazy, man. And as Harold says, at some point you don't tell people you're from Hawaii because it's too easy to make friends and everyone wants to come to Hawaii and be your friend.
Oh, wow.
Not like just stay at your house because
Yeah.
most of them got money back
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they just want to be your friend and like follow you around. You're from Hawaii? And then me, I'm Popolo too,
Right.
right? Which was crazy time to be Popolo
Yeah.
in Japan because like we're so cool and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
exotic, and I had my big fro at that time, and so I stopped telling people I was from Hawaii,
Right, right,
because it
right.
was just too much.
Oh, is that crazy?
Yo, it's crazy, man. Like it was just the end. It was an easy in,
Wow.
and then you can dance another easy in.
Yeah.
It was a wild time, and that's where I first actually run into all the New York dancers.
Okay.
So my first understanding of like the states
Yeah.
outside of Hawaii was actually through Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy
Who'd
to do
you
that.
link up with out there?
I ran to Ijo and all those like Mop Top
Because everybody
guys.
was out there dancing.
Yeah, and actually I didn't know who some of them were because it's like VHS tapes.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you double them, they start getting
Yeah,
blurry.
yeah.
So fun story, even though it kind of whatever my expense, but so I'm in this. I'm a young guy. I'm 18. I think I'm the best. Dude,
Yeah.
I was winning every battle like in Hawaii at the time.
Right.
I was like blowing stuff up in Hawaii. I was like crazy. Thought I was the
Yeah,
coolest
yeah,
dude
yeah.
ever. So I'm in Tokyo
Okay.
and I'm in this club and I see this dude and I just look at him like, like how everyone in this podcast says, you see the way they look, the shirt they're wearing,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
like you dance. So I go up to this guy, right? This dude with dreads, and I'm like, yo, so you dance? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you got some moves? Let's see it. I'm calling him out.
Right.
Just straight up calling him out. This guy starts busting his moves, and he's doing like straight up like b-boying, but with like house, with like all kinds of styles, doing like wild, like not air flares, but all
Right.
these push-ups in the ground, kind of like how
Junior.
Junior, yes,
Yeah,
Junior.
yeah.
Shout out to Junior, one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
Whew, the guy is killing it. And then all of a sudden I go,
The-
oh, you're good. I was walked away, dude. I was so shook, man. Like, because I was
Right,
a big
right.
fish in a small pond
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Hawaii,
yeah,
man. And so now I'm like in the
Who
real
was it?
deal. Shanes.
Oh,
Shanes, a
nice.
legendary dancer, Shanes, man. All his brothers are amazing. One of his brothers, Jeff Shelby, not created, but he remixed hustle into something called new style hustle.
Oh.
And basically, he made it so you can dance to it on house music because before it was just disco.
Right.
He was also featured in like a lot of Netflix shows and helped choreography. Amazing. His other brothers are awesome roller skater, like legendary roller skaters from New York, and the whole family is amazing. But
So after you walked away, so he jumped in.
yo, he just killed it.
you.
He was humble. He didn't care. He was probably like, well, why you run away? Like I want to dance with you.
And you walk away. You didn't even try to go out.
No, dude.
Did you like hit him up and be like, yo?
It wasn't 2 years later when I run into New York and I told him about it and he was just started laughing.
Oh, crazy.
Nah, he I mean, come on, dude. I don't know what to tell you. That's a true story. I was just shook. But I ran into other people out there. You know what's crazy about that time? So 1995. My mom spoke to me in Japanese and not in Hawaiian a bunch. Because we're like Hawaiian Japanese.
Right, right.
The whole history of not being able to like speak Hawaiian in schools. It's not even to like when we start going to elementary, could you learn Hawaiian?
Right. Yeah.
Because the law was lifted and they started having kapunas, right? Remember we would learn like all those songs?
Oh, yeah.
So I was always a little mad that I couldn't actually, Olelo Hawaii, right?
yeah.
But I could speak Japanese as a little kid. Like my mom would say Japanese
'cause
words all the
In
time.
the 90s and 2000s, it's cool to take Japanese,
Yes,
get a
all of
job,
it.
work Waikiki, like that whole narrative of
Yeah.
like take Japanese. Nobody said take Hawaiian.
Nobody, dude. It wasn't a thing. So I could speak Japanese at that
Right.
point. And well, not fluently, but I
Right.
was like, it was by the time I was there,
Conversational.
it was coming together. And so here's a crazy thing: when you're in Japan in that time in the early '90s, or mid '90s, I should say, all the stars, all the famous people from the United States,
Right.
most of them couldn't speak Japanese,
Oh.
so you could just talk to them. So like, I'm hanging out with De La Soul, I'm hanging out with like all these like, celebrities, just in the club, just talking a story. Which was weird for me because, in Hawaii, like they barely came to Hawaii.
Right.
And now we're in Japan, we're just hanging out. But I ran into a bunch of people. Busta Rhymes is around, you could just talk to him. And I think it was like at Hobo Junction
Oh, wow.
and all these hip hop people were out there. Stella Elements, Remind Crumbs was hanging out with them a bit in clubs.
Well,
just-
Japan was happening.
It was
then.
happening. That's why we were all there because the money was there.
Oh.
And
did you move? How long were you there for until you?
Oh, just a few months.
Oh,
I
few
was
months.
because I didn't go there to officially work, right?
Right.
So I couldn't stay there more than 3 months.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I mean, some of my friends would hop over to Korea, which is like an hour away on a
Right.
plane, and fly back, reset your
Wow.
passport. I also I ran into Eddie Rollins. Eddie Rollins is like this amazing dancer from Hawaii,
Yeah.
one of the best at the time. His battles between Josiah was the craziest.
Yeah.
Both of those guys considered some of the best dancers ever.
Shout out to Eddie and shout out to Josiah.
Yeah. So I may have run into him. Just all kinds of people out there, man. Some of them, are, yeah, like people were doing things out there. But so Mop Tops
Yeah.
and their whole crew from all those New York guys, they were being hired to teach hip hop in Japan because they were backup dancers for some of the biggest people in Japan,
Yeah.
like TRF, one of the biggest. And they eventually asked them to teach house dance.
Oh,
But
okay.
these guys weren't ever old enough to go to the house clubs,
Wow.
because they were kids on
Right.
tour,
Yeah.
and even like, by the 90s, yeah, they were going to house clubs and dancing house, but they weren't at the original house clubs,
Oh, okay.
So all they really knew was hip hop. So when they start teaching house classes, what they're really doing is teaching hip hop steps
Right.
to house music.
Oh.
So
okay,
sidewalk,
okay.
like all these steps that people think are house steps
Right.
as like this.
So they're the originators of that hip hop house. I don't know. Like what do you-
It's house today.
yeah, that's
Like,
house today.
Yeah. No
Yeah,
one's
all those
no one's
steps.
gonna sit here and say it's not house.
Right.
It's just not what the people in the loft were doing.
Right.
What the people in the loft were doing, what they did at Paris Garage, what they
Right.
did, at these places is a different thing
Right.
to what house is today.
Right.
Today,
Which is the foundation comes from the Mop Tops.
yeah, well, I would say that. I would say
Yeah.
it's largely them.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky. I started going to New York. Once I moved to the Bay, I would
Right.
go to New York like summers and then some winters. And I ended up 2009. I ended up at this secret meeting. It wasn't secret, but it was a secret meeting. It was after Funkbox.
Okay.
Funkbox ended around like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Right.
And we had this meeting at this restaurant because the French dancers were talking all the smack that their house dance is not connected to New York. Everything they did is their own
Oh,
lineage,
interesting. Okay.
or they created it.
Right.
And part of the reason why they were saying that is because Just Debout, this huge dance competition, was in France,
Right.
and it was locking, house dance, and I guess top rock.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the battle, and it was huge. And a lot
That's
of the
dope
New York,
that locking was still living
yeah, well,
in
locking,
France.
yeah,
Like in America, it's like, okay, here's a locking battle.
right,
Next.
right.
Here's a popping battle.
Right.
Next, let's get to the breaking. Right. That's what I felt at every jam. That's why I never did it because I feel like I could never represent it. I mean, that's why I never did it in my battles because I didn't want to miss. Like, I didn't want it to be a sideshow.
Right, right.
Because either you came correct with it and we highlight it, or I just don't do it. So
I feel you. I mean,
So anyway, that meeting.
so yeah, so we're at this meeting, and so my friend Meech, he wanted to film. Meech is from France. He's
Right.
one of the top level house dancers in general. I don't want to
Right,
pick
yeah.
it as just house because he's amazing
Yeah.
in many styles, and he wanted to film stories from all these New York dancers
Yeah.
to take back to France to
Right.
basically shut them up.
Yeah.
Because there was a huge rivalry going on. Like, I remember being in Brooklyn at Fort Greene Park and then seeing Baba and Houston, Leviticated to Baba, but like coming through and battling people, just trying to battle New York
Wow.
guys. And it was, the line between battle and fight in New
Yeah.
York is so
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
Like, people are throwing stuff at each other. Like, yo, if you did that to me, like, I'm punching,
Yeah.
But like, the line is very thin. And I remember seeing those battles, man. It was crazy. Because actually, what happened before that, one of my mentors, Brian Fort Green, goes to France and ends up at Dijon, which is a famous house dance club or house music club
Right.
in Paris, and battles like 50 people because like he's like an ambassador of house dance.
Right.
And like one of the most famous people, and everyone wants to battle him. So he's doing that. But yeah, so I'm at the secret meeting, and Meech is trying to, film all this information to take back to France and shut them down. And then people, man, I don't know if I want to use their names, but the leaders of Mop Tops and stuff were saying some things about, yo, there's a pyramid and I'm right here and all you French guys are down here. But then out of the corner, you got people like Frankie who go, nah, man, that's not true. I taught you, because he's older.
Right,
Frankie's older
Yeah,
than those
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Like, yo, man, you learned from me. What do you mean you're the top?
Yeah.
And then he's like, had to backtrack a little bit. And that just kept on happening and happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's where I realized, oh, wait, there's Chino 3. Oh, there's Uncle Bravo. There's Lino. You know, there's Foxy. There's all these people that come before these other guys that created these styles. So what house dance is, you know, to what it became.
Right.
It's out there, but
subject to the person's view of where originator came from.
Totally.
But it's all based on feel the music, right?
Yeah, you know, for me, house is a feeling,
right.
You know. But honestly, I think all the styles are that.
It should be.
You know, it should be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like 1990 versus like, you know, whatever else that you're going to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, do a 1990, but do a windmill, whatever you want to do. But groove, man.
Yeah.
It's all about the groove.
It's all about the groove.
That's why the music you're playing in your battles make the most sense.
Yeah.
So
before we sign off, I need to know about Quad Mag or Quad Magazine. Like, tell us about Quad.
Yeah, quadmag.com, 1997 till infinity. Yeah, it started off actually as just hip hop, you know, hence the Quad. And
what is explain the Quad?
It's 4 elements of hip hop, man. So I was going to Japan. I went to Japan a few times, and I kept on telling people about Hawaii, and they just didn't think we had it.
Right.
You know, and so I started a website just to like let people know that we were doing stuff out here.
Yeah.
That's what it was originally, and then it slowly turned into like this bigger thing. I think. What was it? It was like urban island multiculture is like what we ended on.
Right.
On what Quad Mag was. But yeah, we you know, was like me and a team of people. It wasn't just me, right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, sure, I started it originally by myself. It was focused on.
And you did the website, everything.
Yeah, I you know, I went to McKinley, but I dropped out basically. But before I did that, because I was getting like bad grades, man. But I got A's in all my computer classes.
Nice.
So I learned how to program there, and then I had this job at Kapilani Hospital as a door guy. But then it's like an automatic door.
Yeah.
So, but I would sit there with my a big textbook on programming and just study while I was there, man. Whatever, that was years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because they didn't really have to do anything, it was an automatic door. So I was studying programming while I was working there. It was like they're paying me to learn, and I just took that knowledge and I started coding. This is hand coding. This is before WordPress.
Code.
Yeah, like this is straight hand coding stuff. You know. And at that time, this is like 90, 96, 97 coming into it. And so most people didn't even know what the internet was.
Right.
You know, it's not till like 2000 something where AOL was spamming everyone with their CDs and all their things to get you on there.
Big time spam.
So I made Quad Mag, and I think it was Capital Fat.
Okay.
Because, you know, shout out to Jamal. Capital Fat was amazing. And, you know, quick story about Capital Fat. Hawaiian Airlines did a story on hip hop in Hawaii and featured Capital Fat. If you look inside the Honda Home magazine, there's like a bunch of pictures of dancing. I mean, like all of them for whatever reason. But then there's me battling this dude. I can't remember his name right now. But we get into a meme battle. We're about to fucking fight. And then Jamal comes along and squashes the beef.
Right.
And that picture is in the Honda Home magazine.
Oh, do you have that mag? I do.
I do. I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, send me a picture.
But yeah, so I think it was at Capital Fat. I meet Yela.
Okay.
Shout out to Yela.
Shout out to Yela.
And she was doing a lot of stuff on her own already, right? She was working for a publishing company, I think, and she was making React zine. And
she was doing React separately.
Yeah, she was already doing React, I'm pretty sure, and she was just doing a lot of writing. She was like the real writer. Like I said, I dropped out of McKinley, you know, dyslexia and all kinds of crazy things out there. But so somehow I convinced her to like team up with me because I knew I couldn't. My grammar wasn't good, so I got her on board, and then Melosi, who also has made a bunch of music.
Shout out to Melosi.
Melosi made a scratch record with HOP. He's a turntablist.
Right.
And his brother is Kaya Kenniscallen.
Wait, who? Yeah, Melosi's brother is Kaya Kenniscallen.
Yeah, you know,
like younger brother?
Yeah, his younger brother. Smoke all day.
Wait, how old is? Wait.
No, it's a big age difference.
Yeah,
but that's his younger brother.
Okay, yeah.
It's a huge age difference, but that's his younger brother.
Shout out to Melosi. He was a doorman for a lot of Jamal's events.
Yeah, man.
And a doorman for Capital Fat. Shout out to High Chief.
High Chief XL.
Shout out to who's the role High Chief? Big Dave.
Big Dave, yes. Yeah.
I'm just giving
all the
gotta give the
Aiga.
shout outs. All the
Yo,
Aiga.
yeah.
Only love. So anyway, Quad Mag.
So Melosi, so he actually was one of the writers too.
Oh, okay, nice.
He
nice.
had, I mean, that guy's input for Quad Mag is huge. You know,
Right.
I can't even stop on where it began and end. But I'm just gonna highlight the fact that he actually wrote some things.
Yeah.
So Yela and Melosi were writing under pen names actually.
Okay.
You know, we'll shout them out next time. But yeah, so they were the writers, and a lot of the interviews were being done by Yela, and eventually she started writing for Honolulu Weekly when it was still around.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, man, Quad Mag had so many iterations, you know, of what it was. I mean,
You guys came out in physical format too, right?
no, we never
never
actually
did?
printed. No, we never did. It was
Oh.
only online. React Magazine, though.
Yeah. Okay.
did.
Yeah.
And so some things that she wrote for Quad, we also put in
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
I only printed one thing for Quad, and it was
okay.
when I moved to LA. You know, again, I got to LA after Harold left. I get, you know,
Wow.
crazy times.
That was a setup for
Yeah,
everybody.
no, man.
He opened the doors.
Shout outs to that. And I get to the Bay, too. I get to the Bay just before Chris Kuhunahana leaves, too.
Oh yeah.
So Chris Kuhunahana is in the Bay, and he's doing all kinds of...
Killing it. Yeah.
Killing it, dude. The guy's doing, like, films. He had this party at Storyville called Ella Funk,
Okay. Yeah.
which Will I Am was
Right.
going to.
Wow.
And then he names his stuff later Ella Funk. I wonder where he
that's
got it
right.
from.
Oh wow.
Yo, crazy story. I'm working in San Francisco, and Chris Kuhunahana had made a CD called Ella Funk.
Right.
And so I get there way after that, you know, like not way after that, but
yeah.
I'm doing other things. I'm dancing. But man, I'm just trying to hustle. So Chris lends me a bunch of his CDs.
Right.
So I'm on the streets of San Francisco selling Ella Funk CDs
Right,
with
right.
no CD player. Like straight up, you can't even hear it. I'm selling it. It was me and actually Brett from EXO, from Fungus.
Oh, funk is okay.
Yeah, so we're out there selling that, and Zobo Shumti. Zobo Shumti is like another album that he made with
Yeah.
Jamal's on it.
Right.
But yeah, so that's like 2001, 2, whatever, something
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm doing a bunch of things out there, and I can't. It's hard to continue Quad Mag
Yeah.
at that point, you know.
Right.
But I'm trying to make it be, you know, relevant towards what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go. But yeah, so I'm trying to keep Quad Mag relevant, and actually for a hot minute, I considered changing the name from Quad Mag
Okay.
to 808 Giants.
Oh wow.
So I hit up East and a
Right,
bunch of
right,
guys.
right.
I was like,
Yeah.
yo, can I use that name? Because it's perfect for what I'm
Yeah.
doing now, because I'm trying to do Hawaii, but from the Bay.
Right.
And eventually I just said, I'm not doing it, because like
Yeah.
that, it had so much history on that
Right,
name.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
want to like, you know, smear on somebody's idea of what 808
Yeah.
Giants was. But I also want to shout out Corey Coons
Yeah. Shout
and
out to
Hawaii
Corey.
and
Fink.
Hawaii Nights,
Hawaii
man,
Nights.
because he was doing his zine. So basically everyone's zine before Quad Mag is what led to Quad Mag.
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
even Auto Cake from the punk scene.
Yeah. Shout out to Otto.
You know, call back to Buzz talking about how he was stranded at the Greyhound station in San Francisco, and he
Right.
runs into Rolo.
Yes.
So Rolo is from the punk scene.
Right.
He was good friends with my brother,
Wow.
and they would go and stay at our grandma's house in San Francisco. So there's a good chance that at that time when
Yeah.
he saw Rolo, he was coming from my grandma's
What?
house. Because my grandma on my dad's side, you know,
Yeah.
my polo side, 50 years in the same house. 10th and Folsom, right down the street from 1015 Folsom.
Wow. So he was literally probably there. Your brother might have been up there too then.
Probably so, man. They were out there. Melosi was out there all
Yeah.
the time, man.
Shout out to
But-
Lance.
Shout out to Lance. Yeah. Yeah, my brother was part of Quad Mag too. You know, he was doing all that stuff.
Definitely.
Yo, my brother's a huge inspiration for Quad
Right.
Mag in the sense that I've always tell people that he's smarter than me, you know.
Right.
I'm just like way more like extroverted and out there, you'll see me. But that guy was doing computer things way before I was doing computer things,
Right.
you know. But
Quad Mag covered a lot of events, I felt like. It was like the source at one point.
yeah, we definitely were taking our cues from those magazines and trying to be that. And as it evolved, it definitely did that.
Yeah.
You know, for a hot second, you know, we were actually getting sponsorships. You know, we were getting a little bit of money, nothing big. You know,
Yeah.
because if it did, we would be.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
a mogul.
Yeah.
I'd be Russell Simmons.
It'd be
you know?
complex.
It'll be, you know what I'm saying, another level
Yeah.
at that point. But yeah, it's just, we were before people understood what the
Right.
internet was. This is before MySpace. This is before Friendster even.
Right,
This is
right,
before Facebook. There was no social media. I'm out there coding things. When I had to change an article,
crazy.
I had to like make a whole new web page. Like it
That's
took me a while
crazy,
to
yeah.
understand like how to like make a form and just input like the data in there.
right.
Like I was learning like SSC, all these things, learning Flash. Yo, shout out again to Chris Kunohana, because when I'm in the Bay,
Right.
we used to have this ritual. Because what I'm getting at is that he taught me graphic design.
Yeah.
Chris Kunohana taught me graphic design, at least the concept of it. Because after the clubs, we would sit around at this coffee shop, and I forgot the name of it, but it was like in a Castro or someplace, and there was this wall of flyers, like a huge thing of flyers, and we'd grab them all and would sit down, throw them in a pile, and you would just go through them, pick the ones you like,
Right.
and leave the rest. And then we look at the ones we didn't like and go, oh, we don't like it because look, where is it? They forgot to put where it's at.
Right.
They
Right.
forgot to put the date, or they forgot to put who was there, and would go through that to see.
Street teachings.
Yeah, it was straight street teaching. That was
Yeah.
my schools with Chris, bro.
That's how it is.
Yo, shout out to him.
Shout out to Chris.
Yo, and like then we'd have like the last few flyers you really
Right.
liked. Oh, why'd you like it? And then we'll talk about why you liked it. I never knew I
That's
was
dope.
learning. I never
That's
knew I was
so
learning,
dope.
you know?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was teaching me.
Right.
But he was teaching me, man. And like I learned so much from that guy. He helped me like with all my dance productions. He helped me on so many ways. But then he left. He had to
Right.
come back
Yeah.
and create Honolulu Underground Film Festival. Had to
Right.
come back, make Next Door.
Well, Chris Kunohana, when he came back, I guess he had to figure out the feeling of what the scene was. He linked me up and he let me open for Vinrock, Shortcut, Z Trip, Zionite. Like he literally, like I think probably it was Jamal that told him, "Yo, we gotta hit up Cavett," and he came back. And I'm not saying he's single-handedly, but he probably is the dude that revitalized downtown.
I would say so.
Next
man.
to like Hisham and Treehouse.
Yes.
That was like
Taharba.
Taharba.
Because Taharba was there before Hisham was
Yeah.
there.
So Taharba, Hisham, they did their thing at the
Yeah.
edge, kind of by APB is now, but like Chris put blood, sweat, money,
Yeah.
everything into Next Door. I remember the
100%.
spark. I remember Jamal introducing me to him, right? Because Kunan is older than us, but he came back and he put me on instantly. Boom.
Yeah.
Every show, dude, I opened for everybody that he had, and shout out to Chris. And now he's doing big things,
Yeah.
film and stuff like that. But I mean, speaking of hip hop, without him seeing the vision of downtown wouldn't be what it is now.
no
The
way.
scene of downtown.
It
Chinatown.
all birthed from Next Door.
Yeah.
And I also, another section that hip hop really influenced was actually Kaka'ako.
Right.
Because back in the day, Kaka'ako was this grimy, and then we started coming in there doing our parties.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the teen clubs was in that area too.
Right.
And then people started tagging and making all those things happen out there. Shout out back to Prime and everyone that made 808 Urban.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that happened.
Right.
From the branching of what we were doing. We were creative people. Everything that we're doing is just an extension of that. You know what the extension of Quad Mag actually became?
Yeah. What is it?
1998, back in Japan, and I do a commercial, for some magazine for
Right.
watches. I don't remember. We were doing crazy stuff, bro. And I meet this like marketing guy,
Yeah.
this, Koseo Ayama-san,
Okay.
and I convinced Ayama-san to like make a website, a magazine for Japan.
Okay.
Because he was working at a legit magazine, but
Okay.
I was like, yo, let's make this other thing. The internet's where it's going,
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I already knew the future. I was
Right,
like, let's
right.
go there.
So you're in Japan, explaining to Japanese that the internet's the next.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, this guy, let's just say that guy.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he was an exec over there, and I was like, yo, man, let's do this thing. And so we started developing Tokyo Dance Magazine online, and it got so big, the guy leaves his job and does it full time.
Wow.
I mean, I was a little bummed for a while because like I didn't stay.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, but I was like a street kid, man.
Yeah.
My mentality was just like, it wasn't money oriented,
was like,
you
cool,
know.
on
I
to
was
the
just like,
next.
yeah, on to
Yeah.
the next thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tokyo Dance Magazine did amazing. It was
Right.
along for a long time, and but yeah, so like everything we do just is always part of,
Right.
of that.
It's like a creative motion that keeps moving,
Yeah,
keeps hitting spots.
and then I think different iterations of Quad Mag turned into a lot of different things, and one thing it definitely turned into was it was the spot for parties going on in Hawaii
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Honolulu at the time.
Definitely.
And then, but that was like definitely more 2000
Right.
when that happened. So I'm still trying to run it. But yeah, man, like everyone's on the message board. I was looking at message boards recently in preparation for this.
You
And like,
kept it. You kept the.
I have access to some of it. Yeah.
I lost the light sleeper message boards.
Yeah. You can probably find it. You gotta use the Wayback Machine.
Okay, you gotta tell me because
Yeah, well, I'll hook you
dude,
up.
those light sleeper message boards. Ooh, that
Yeah.
was.
Oh yeah,
the
rap
next-
battles were on there.
Everything was on
Yes,
there.
I remember that.
Oh, so, okay, yeah. But anyway, so Quad Magazine. How did it kind of? I mean, I know it kind of like irritated.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it basically it was hard for me to do everything,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like I was an ADD kid, so I was always thinking of so many things.
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing all these battles. I linked up with cool people like Prem and Nick Kamalis. Yo, another story. Like my college was actually this place called Punch Gallery
Okay.
in San Francisco, and that's Chris Kuahana. He named it Punch Gallery.
Wow.
And it's basically through the Justice League, through all
Right.
these events we were doing, we link up with these guys who were like doing corporate commercials,
Right.
and they had this huge loft warehouse place, and we start going in there. I start having my rehearsals there. Dude, basically we break up their whole company because some of the company didn't like hip hop,
Right.
hip hop, whatever. But then it made way for Punch Gallery,
Right.
and Chris wanted to do this thing where he had like giant size murals of graffiti in the arc, right? Because no one was really doing that.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
we had like a whole wall of one piece from different people, and in that place there was like graphic designers, other filmmakers, audio engineers, like all kinds of different people. And I did all my stuff there, and I learned so much more about like editing video
Right,
and all
right,
these
right.
other things in that place. But that's like a huge part of why Quad couldn't
Right,
exist
right,
anymore.
yeah,
Like I was just getting pulled in so many directions. But 2007 was the 10-year anniversary,
Right.
and I wanted to bring it back because people in Hawaii, I looked at it, I was like, man, people are loving this message board.
Right. Right. Right.
We should bring it back. And so I had this idea to do a fundraiser, and man, that fundraiser, the lineup was crazy, man. I mean, I'll just say Paula Fuga was on the lineup.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that was like pre-Paulo Fuga.
Yo,
Nobody.
I don't want to, I mean, I could say it's now because I'm sure she's paid $50,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But $500. I paid her dude, that's all she was charging back then.
But that's
you
a
know?
lot for people that do what we do.
Yo, it was a lot.
Pay
She
one
got
person.
paid the most. She got paid the most.
Yeah.
But I already knew she was gonna be awesome.
See,
Like
that's crazy.
I believed in
Hip-hop,
her.
man.
Like, and I put her. We had her. We had Immerse. We
Right.
had so many different people.
Yeah.
We had Red Eye Jedi.
Yep.
Yo, one quick thing I want to say, which is because it's kind of fun trivia. 808 Breakers was started by Waikiki B-Boys.
Right.
Yeah, Ballistic.
Yeah.
Yo, puts them on. But but yeah, they were there too. Waikiki B-Boys and Red Eye Jedi was there. CIA Crazy Air All Stars.
Yep.
DFC parts of them were there. But yeah, we were trying to do this fundraiser with all these people. We were supposed to have Go Jimmy Go, but I don't know what happened to those guys.
that would've been sick.
I'm gonna hold that one back. But anyway, we had so many people was on that bill, man, and it was a fun time. But all respect to everyone. So ho'oponopono, and but I just saying the business side of things run by that venue at that time
Right.
is why we never got any money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
What venue
I
was
still right next door, upstairs.
Oh, okay.
But I don't exactly want to say it because I still like them. I want to shout them out as cool people. But no, it pissed me off, dude. They were letting people into the back door, and we just never got any money.
Right,
They were doing
right.
all kinds of shady stuff, and it's part of why they closed down. But
Yeah.
but anyway, but yeah, that was it. I was hoping that it would come back, right?
Right.
That was like the 10-year anniversary. People were still into it, and it could have came back,
Yeah.
But, I can sit here and complain about capitalism all the time, but we need money, It's like when you're a small business, everything we do in hip hop is pretty much small business,
Right.
Until it becomes industry. So,
But the thing is, all good things come to an end, and that's a good thing, I think, because it births another thing.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Last question. Hawaii hip hop in general. I just need your perspective, your last taking words. What do you think it would take for an artist? Could be dance, could be DJing, could be because nobody technically have made it. Like I'm talking like Bruno Mars status
Yeah.
kind of deal. What would you think it would take for it to happen?
You know, shout out to the people who I thought did cool stuff already. You know, Yo-Yo, Yolanda,
Yep.
who got with MC Hammer and did stuff. And, you know, I look back at Quad Mag and I actually wrote this. And when I was making Quad Mag, I wrote, Hawaii doesn't support
Right.
what we're doing. I wrote that like in the 90s. And I think it's still true today.
Right.
You know, Immersive songs should have been in commercials.
Yeah.
You know, and it should have been playing everywhere, man. Like, why they're not playing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
support what we're doing.
Why do you think Hawaii's industry doesn't support Hawaii?
Because majority of it's not even run by people from here.
Yeah.
It's run by corporations, especially at this point in
Right.
time.
Yes.
It's owned by people who don't even live here.
Right.
I mean, look at UH. They just hired some woman who doesn't understand what Hawaiian is. Like, she's like, I hope I could take a class. Like, dude,
What?
what are you doing? Like you don't know the
What are
history
you
of the place that
doing?
you're coming to be the
That chicken
president
I'm gonna
of?
pay you 6 figures. You
Like,
don't
that's
even know
what we're
it
doing.
is.
You know, the same 5 families are still controlling things.
Yeah.
We still don't. There's a reason why we don't have like Bank of America and all these big banks, because it's the same people owning everything.
Yeah.
You know, we're constantly under the thumb of people
But
who are
luckily,
not
we're
part
in
of
an
this
era
place.
where do for self and independent works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? And with that, I'll say this. I mean, I'm not suggesting this, but I'll say this. You got people like, Brock and all these other like big time social media people who
Right,
are
right.
huge.
Yeah.
Like, they're like bigger than all
Yeah.
those other people. They have way more followers.
Right.
Go get with them.
Yeah.
Maybe somehow you can connect
Right.
and like get with them. Another thing I want to say too, though, which is a little different, but I was thinking, I want to end with this. Like, bro, just do them. There's not going to be a right time.
Right.
There's never going to be a right time to do
Right.
whatever you're doing. And yeah, money, capitalism is a big part of it. But we were just always doing it. Hip hop itself was always do it with what you got.
Exactly.
So grab whatever you can and record.
Right.
Go dance.
Yeah.
Go make the show. Like,
Right.
I did so many shows and so many battles and
Right.
organizations with no money.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying don't pay people. Pay
Right.
people.
Yes.
But if you got to buy them plate lunch, buy them plate lunch.
Yeah. Just
Do
keep it-
something.
Just keep that clear at the beginning.
Yes, keep it clear at the.
I can
at the
pay you a
beginning.
plate lunch.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's go.
Yo, shout out to E3 for giving me my first sponsorship form. Once he gave me this letter that he used to use for getting sponsorship money, that's what got me into
Right.
like the money game. But even again, beyond all that, even if you're just doing it yourself, just do it already. Just
Right.
you want to be MC, go rhyme. You want to be a dancer, dance.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Right.
Just do it now. Put it out there, and learn as you go. Like, I had so many names. I was Jubon. I was 10. I was 10 of Quad. I was. Now I'm Kaleo 10.
Right.
Who knows what I'll be next time.
Oh, and on that note, we'd like to thank big mahalos to Kaleo 10.
Kaleo
I like
10.
to say 10 of Quad for joining us
Quad.
here at PBS. ALANUI MELE on PBS Hawaii, Hawaii Hip Hop History. And we out. Peace.
Out.